Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Greater DAOR webinar. Today's webinar is Glide and Practicing Safer Disclosures. I really want you to impress your clients when you are setting disclosures or when you are completing an Avid. Glide is a really streamlined, easy-to-use platform that allows you to send disclosures via email, and it allows you to get back disclosures that are completed, that are very detailed, and they Avid as well. Very streamlined process to kind of get in and get out. I know right now, during all of this time, it's a great resource to actually just come in and say, let me go ahead and do this Glides interactive Avid and get this done. So we're going to go ahead and do that momentarily. I am going to allocate a couple more minutes to allow everyone to sign on and get logged on to the Realtor portal and then into Glide. Once again, the webinar will begin momentarily. All right, and fantastic, everyone. Hopefully everyone's doing well today. Today's webinar is Glide and Practicing Safer Disclosures. I really want to show you how to send disclosures via email to your clients, and it's a very streamlined process, Glide. We know that there's a lot of times it's kind of difficult to sometimes read the writing on disclosures, especially like the SPQ and TDS. Sometimes you don't get completed disclosures or it's not completed properly. Glide is a really great tool to streamline that process and make it very easy and manageable for any client of any age. As always, making sure we are logging into the greaterdaor.com, getting caught up on all news and information. For additional webinars, you can always click on the blue webinar banner. We do carry webinars every single day so that you can get new tips and new information about some of the many benefits you use. As always, we're going to go into the MLS login to take us to our dashboard. From here, we're going to go ahead and go into Glide. And you see that we will be brought to the Glide transaction platform. Currently, I have no active transactions. Now, Glide really does integrate with zip form. So any transaction that I have in zip form, I can pull into Glide just specifically for those disclosures and the Avid. As always, before we start any benefit though, making sure we are going into the settings and making sure that information is all current, relevant, and up to date. So to the top right where your silhouette is or your photo, if you have uploaded one, we can go into account settings. And from here, we get the photo for us to upload and our basic information, such as our license, our broker information, any email addresses associated with our email or with zip form, our associations and team, we see our ZipForm Plus integration. So I did use the email, or the outreach email for my ZipForm Plus transaction. My notification settings, when I want to be notified when someone starts a packet, someone submits a packet, and a packet hasn't been started. I have those notifications right here, so I can see them in my little notifications icon where the bell is. And at any time, I can see things that need actions. As well as reminders. If we wanted to set in-app reminders to be sent via email or via notification to either seller disclosures or to the Avids, and we would just go add reminder, the recipient, the message, how many days after the packet was created, and when we want it to send. Once that's all looking good, we can go ahead and go back and hit the Glide logo, and that will take us back home. From here, we're going to go ahead and set up a new transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and click New Transaction to the top right. And we see it is linking my ZipForm Plus transactions. So any transactions that I do have, I can pool. So I've already created a transaction, this 15454 Los Robles. So I definitely am going to use that. If I wanted to use a new one, I can as well. Just start a new ZipForm Plus transaction, and Glide will have me start filling out information. All right, so now it's going to ask me what the transaction status is. I'm going to say this is active, which is why we are doing. And now we need to add the listing agent. If this information was already inside the actual transaction, then I would not need to add this information. So now I have the listing agent, right, myself, and I'm going to go ahead and click on continue. And now we're popped into the disclosure package, and we can see how the workflow is going to be with these simple steps, right? So we're going to complete the workflows that we have, which are a 3-step process. We can add any other documents from either the ZipForm Plus, or we can add any other disclosures. We're sending those to get signatures, and then once it's finished, it's going to share to either a PDF file or to the ZipForm Plus transaction. We're going to go ahead and click done, and now we see the 3 workflows we have. We have the request seller disclosures. We can order NHD reports and do the Avids. Any additional documents we upload will be in these package docs, so we can upload documents from our computer that we're going to send along with these disclosures. We can add specific documents from ZipForm Plus or from DocuSign, as well as sharing options to share a package or to preview. Additionally, I want to show you underneath the disclosure packet some information you get. With details and parties, you can kind of get some overview on things that are going on. The parties, so far I just have the listing agent, the ZipForm Plus linking so that I can always see the transaction and either link a different account or jump right into the ZipForm transaction. I get property information if that's already inputted in the actual transaction as well. And I get listing information and purchase information. Underneath that, I have signature requests. When I do send things for signatures, I'll get a status right here, as well as a log of activity for all parties. Now I'm going to come into the request seller disclosures by clicking on start or just clicking into the form. And now I'm just going to select the forms for this address. So I have the TDS and SPQ. I'm going to move that just right there. We can add additional forms such as the coronavirus addendum or amendment, exempt seller, lead-based paint, earthquake hazards, right? We can add the update and add any form that we need to send along with this transaction or these disclosures. I'm going to go ahead and click on continue. And now we get additional details. I'm just going to create a block lot, but once again, if this was filled out in the actual transaction that I pulled from ZipForms, I would not need to fill out this information. I'm going to select that agent will attach an Avid form so I can show you the streamlined Avid. Are you aware of whether the property is in a homeowners association? We'll say no. And the type of property, we'll say single family. And fantastic. So now we can add additional parties. And similarly to, like I said, with the forms, if we added parties already in the transaction, they would pull into here. I'm going to go ahead and add a seller. And I'm going to use this Joe test account only because that is my main account and I want to show you how that looks. So this is going to be the seller, and I can keep going and get some more information. Any phone numbers, mailing addresses. We're going to save that. We can add seller to, optional, and if we do, we have the option of who's going to fill the form and who won't. We can add another party to the transaction, right, such as the listing agent, listing team, or the broker. And now we're just going to hit continue. From here, we're going to select a location, whether that's going to be remote or in person. So we're going to do remote. Clients will be invited via email so that I can show you how that looks. If you were with a client, we can do the same approach in person so that you can help along with them. This is going to be my message. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. My client is already expecting I'm going to save that for the future, and I'm going to go ahead and send. That's going to be my message. We see that the forms have been sent. Complete the rest of your disclosure package while you wait. We can order NHD reports, very easy, but I'm just going to go ahead and exit out of there and say no thanks, I don't want to order, or press continue. And now we've skipped past that NHD. Now I want to go back into the seller disclosures because you get some more insight by clicking back into it. So we have a couple of options, right? We get to see a status, whether it's sent, whether it's been opened, whether it's being worked on. We actually get a percentage for each form that we send, 10%, 30%, 50% complete. We can see that. We can review them in the moment. Even if our client is working on the SPQ, we can review and see what they've been clicking at any given moment. We can resend documents to specific emails. We can add additional forms, preview, do the e-sign for the DocuSign, add reminders, lock this. We can add additional forms. We see the parties. We can edit this information, resend this information, and we see activity. All of that's going to be updated along these logs and signature requests and details in parties. Now, before I go into the Avid, I'm going to jump out of the actual agent portion and log back in as the client because I want you to see what your client is actually going to be able to view and how they're going to be able to complete the seller disclosures. So this gave me a little update profile information because I've already used this account and sometimes I use it as Joe Test, Joe Sample, Joe Client, Joe Buyer, just depends. So it's just making sure that the name is correct because I am going to be signing signatures, my signature on that. So it wants to make sure that that information is correct. I updated that information and it prompted me how I would like to apply these changes to other transactions. So whether as I want to only have active transactions, all transactions, or whether I don't want to update any. I know for your client, they may be a little bit confused if they do get prompt this. More than likely they won't because they won't be completing multiple disclosures, right? I complete one every single weekend or every single week. But this is what they would actually get taken into if they open that email. And from here, we would see that they would get, before we begin, this is serious business. Glide is going to give them a little bit of an overview. They're going to get a disclosure advisory, right? This is the advisory for what they'll be filling out, the seller advisory, and preparing to complete your disclosure obligation. Completing the forms, and final recommendations. They're going to accept, and now another disclaimer. So we see that this is most important for your actual clients. Glide may provide you with explanations and tips written by risk management experts. The material is designed for informational purposes only, right? So it lets them know that they will be given information. While Glide may identify issues encountered when completing standard disclosure forms, the information provided should not be considered to be an exhaustive list of all potential issues or problems. And it keeps going. So it just gives them a little bit of a disclaimer. They accept. And now they're done. Now they're ready to operate into their actual disclosures. They're two different disclosures. All of that was just getting their information for Glide, letting them know what Glide is, how Glide is going to help them, and what they'll be using Glide for. Right, okay, fantastic. Sorry about that little lag, but we see, hello, Joe, you are ready to begin completing your forms. So they see that the packet's not started. The Glide lets them know that their responses will be saved as they go. And they can jump to whatever form they want, or they can just select begin. So now they can actually see the property questionnaire. They see that there's 74 questions. They can view the original form or just select get started. As we see, we are in the introduction. So this is the SPQ advisory, right? And this is a supplement to the TDS. It tells them some more information. It tells them specifically, question VM1 asks if you are aware. Beneath the question is a reminder that if you have any such documents in your possession, that you should provide everything. Right, so it kind of gives them just a little overview of what they can experience in the SPQ. They will press accept. And then a little introduction before you begin this form. Responding to questions, are you aware? And now we can see part one. Are you aware within the last 3 years the death of an occupant of the property upon the property? And then it gives them a little bit of insight onto why this question is being asked, as well as some additional resources so that they can always go into there. We see an order from a government health official. Now at any time, right, if a client does not understand a question or needs some insight, they can always flag a question for review. And we see it says, leave a comment for your agent to review. Your comment will not appear on the form. So we can see and now I'm flagging that. And similarly to like a Facebook post or to some kind of Instagram post, I can start creating a thread with my agent underneath this question. And this is in regards to kind of help me fill out this question. So as the agent, I can review and log on and see all of their flagged questions and start answering them in the moment. So now we have that. The release of a legal controlled substance on or beneath the property. We see some more information about that and they can go show more. And it gives them a little bit of information on why this question is relevant. If we select yes, we see that we have an option to please explain in detail, and this can be as long as we need it. And we can attach images or documents. At any time, we can skip past questions, and we definitely can, and select continue. And it'll keep going. We see as long as there is some things where some more information is needed, it has that information. An additional explanation for this section. Now we can skip past to pets, animals, and pests, to boundaries. We would say yes and attach any images. And we can keep skipping through. At the end, we would go into review after we've gone through all the questions. And we see that Glide is going to prompt me as the client with, we found 48 skipped questions. Would you like to answer them first? And I would either click on yes, which is going to take me right into the pages where there are skipped questions. I'm not going to have to go through the whole form, only the pages where there are skipped questions. Now I'm going to review again. And let's say as the client, I was just done with this packet and I do not want to answer these 48 skipped questions. I can select no, thinking that it will take me to the next portion. But once again, I'm going to have to review my answers. And before I can actually finish and sign, I'm going to have to fix these 48 issues. And I can come through and see which ones aren't being, right? Cannot be blank, cannot be blank, cannot be blank. All of my flagged questions I can see at the end, how many flagged questions I have. And as I said, they cannot finish and sign the document until they fix those 48 issues. Now they can't exit out of the seller disclosures because you sent them multiple disclosures. And we see that the packet status has changed to started. And now we're going to go into the TDS, excuse me. Similarly, right, we have how many questions there's going to be on here. We can preview the original form. We're going to select Get Started and get some more introductions to the TDS. They're going to read through that, accept that information. Would you like to list any inspection reports or disclosures where the provider has agreed that the contents may substitute for your obligation to answer certain questions on this real estate transfer disclosure statement? We know that this is the first question. And very simple for them, property items. So this one is a little bit more streamlined than the actual SPQ because all your client has to go through is just select, is the seller still occupying the property? And then which appliances, and all we're going to do is choose all that apply: microwave, dishwasher, garbage disposal, washer dryer hookups. Now we do have these little info icons where Glide feels that most people have questions. For instance, what is the difference between a range and an oven? Well, if I click this info icon, I get some more info. It gives me a detailed description of what a range is, as well as a photo and additional resources to find that information. What is an oven? Or what's the difference between a range and oven? And we see those two. So it's very easier for your client to say, okay, I have the oven. 220-volt wiring, what is that? I'm going to do a little info, get some info about that, see a photo, and now I can recognize this is in my laundry room. I do have one of those. And I would keep going. Get some more info. I can always flag for review any one of these questions. I'm going to skip over to defects and malfunctions. And similarly, I will select all that apply. I'm going into property issues. Are you aware of features of the property shared in common with adjoining landowners? Adjoining landowners own land that shares common boundaries. Most properties have neighbors who share features in common. So if I select no, we see that Glide even lets me know that this is an uncommon answer. That a more common answer is yes, that very few people actually do not share something with an adjoining landowner. So that gives them a little bit of insight, and whether it's true or not, they would just, if it's a no, then they can keep it a no. But you see that Glide is doing everything in its power to make sure that you are getting completed and accurate disclosures. Now that that's flagged, we'll go ahead and click continue or go to review. And we see that it found 26 skipped questions. And similarly, even if they click no, they will have to answer all of those skipped questions before they can actually finish and send the document. They will have to fix those 26 issues. And fixing those issues are either going to come down to them flagging those questions or you going in and flagging those questions for them and helping them along the way. Either way is a great way to help them and ease them in filling out these SPQs, this TDS, and any other disclosures you send. Once again, I'm going to change gear just a little bit and log back in as the realtor so that you can see everything that you will be able to see while your client is filling out those actual forms. So now we see that I do have a transaction in here, and I can always change the view from grid to list if I wanted to. I have more actions button, such as changing the status or archiving the transaction. I'm going to go right into it by clicking into it. And now we can see that if I go into the seller disclosures again, the amount of information that I'm given. So I can resend, I could preview either of the documents. I have some more options once again. We see that I have the percentage when it was completed. So this was done by my Joe client at 10:21 a.m. and he's 36% of the way through. I can review the document at any single time by clicking on review, which will prompt me to this review page where I can preview the PDF. If any changes are needed, ask the filler to make them by linking them to the relevant questions. Click copy link and paste into an email. You can also click flag for review and provide instructions without leaving glide. So you have two ways to do it. You can either give them this link, right, to this question and copy the link and paste it into an email so that they can jump right into the question, or you can flag for review any one of these questions and kind of go through and you would just flag and you would give them the information that they need to fill it out. So that's one way, or we can just preview the PDF. And from here, similarly, we get answers along the right that we can kind of go through. We see that flagged question and we see that I can reply, but I'll also start generating the form right here. And when I generate the form, I'll see the information that they're actually showing me. We see the status has changed to started. Sellers are in the process of filling out the disclosures. We see what percentage of the way they're done. Now we do see all flagged questions come underneath here, and we can easily I can easily answer that question. And if I send a notification, it will send an email. If not, this will just prompt up in our actual notifications. So now I've answered his question, right? And he can see that in the moment. So if he was just staring at his computer, this would just prompt up, similarly to like being on Facebook or being on Instagram, and we can start a whole thread. He can ask me another question, I can answer that question, all for this one section of the actual SPQ. The minute that I feel like I've helped him, I will resolve the flag and it will clear it from here, because you can imagine that if more than one question is flagged, this will be a long page. I'm going to go ahead and preview that TDS because I want to show you that in the moment you can see. I would just resolve the flag. I see my parties. I see the activity. Now we're going to go ahead into this complete Avid, change gears just a little bit. This Avid is a very streamlined approach. It allows you to add photos to your transaction and allows you to take photos. And you can use Glide from your tablet. You can use Glide from your cell phone, like I'm going to show you momentarily, or you can use Glide from your desktop. You have many different options. This complete Avid is just a really streamlined approach. I think it's very fast in filling out any Avid you're going to see right now. How would you like to complete the Avid? Whether I already have my own way of doing Avids and I've already completed it and I just want to upload the PDF, or I can use Glide's guided Avid workflow. Is the property a duplex, triplex? We'll say no, because it's not. It says, please provide the brokerage name, the Greater DAOR. This is all my agent info, right? When was the inspection done? We see we get a pretty detailed inspection time. And we could change that if that wasn't when that's done. We get a very detailed weather report. So we see the overcast clouds, the temperature, the wind speed. Who else was present? One other seller. There's only two of us going through, so that I can do these property observations really streamlined, really fast, get in, get out. I don't have to spend too much time and too much contact with that one person. So we see that we get our property observations, and this is all that we're going to do. We're just going to select add new or add new, and we're taken to different property observations. And we would go ahead and select an entry, the living room, a dining room, a kitchen, and we can do multiple halls and stairs, multiple bedrooms and baths, the garage and parking, any exterior or other rooms that we want, or any other things that we want to, whether this is going to be something like the patio. You know, there's so many different things that it could be. And we can go into the bedroom and start noting anything, right, that we would need to note. We can change the bedroom number. Right, from bedroom 1 to bedroom 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And as you see, we can either take a photo or attach a file, such as a photo, to any single observation. So we can come back and attach files, or we can take photos in the moment. So I would easily just click on something like the exterior, and I would say, you know, the landscape and the ground is a little uneven, or whatever my observation was going to be, and I would just easily take a photo. My webcam is disabled. I am on my tablet, but I just wanted to show you that I would easily be able to take a photo that way. If not, I can always attach a file. Right, and similarly from here, it would be all of my and now I have a photo attributed to this exterior shot, and I'm going to go ahead and click on save. Now I have one property observation, and I will continue to do that with all of my observations as I go through. And I can go into the garage and parking. Take a photo or attach a file. Right, fantastic. So we have that the beam is rotting, the exterior, we can do other ones. And so these property observations are really neat, right, to kind of just come through. I do want to change gear just a little bit because I want to show you that you can easily do this from your actual cell phone. So very easily, I did get Glide on my cell phone. Now Glide doesn't have an app just yet particularly, but what I did is I saved it to my desktop on my phone, or I can just open Glide on any single either on Chrome or on Safari, right? I can just open that at glide.com, but I can do it from my phone. We see that I have the transaction. I'm going to go ahead and click into it. And we're going to go back into this Avid because that's what I was doing. And I'm going to go ahead and select fill form. And all I would do, now this is from my cell phone, but all I would do is select add new. And let's just say that we wanted, something like the living room or the bedroom, and we would be doing something. We would just take the photo and then we'll use that photo. And now we're saving that. So I just wanted to show you how simple it is to actually do property observations from your cell phone, right? I'm just snapping pictures and I can even use my talk to text to kind of generate that sentence or generate whatever it is that I want written down, right? So it's a very streamlined, very fun, updated way to kind of just do that Avid. You can do it very fast. All these photos are going to be integrated into your ZipForm Plus transaction as another page and another attachment, so you can see all of those photos. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of there on Safari and go back into it on the actual desktop. I have to refresh this in order for those observations to come on from the actual app. Right, so fantastic. I have that living room, the garage, the parking exterior, and I will continue to do that for all of my property observations. I'm going to select done. I do apologize. It is doing that because I have it now opened in multiple applications. I have one here on my tablet, one on my phone, so it's just lagging just a little bit. But we are almost finished here. Other observed or known conditions not specified before, we can do that and take photos or attach files. Do you have an addendum for additional rooms? We'll say no. This is now integrating the whole forms into the actual ZipForm Plus transaction. Is this the correct ZipForm Plus transaction? It just wants to make sure before it actually uploads that. We'll click continue again, and now it's syncing to my ZipForm Plus transaction. While that syncs and gets all of that information and generates the information, the photos, the Avid into the actual transaction that I've already set up, and I have a couple of things in there, we will see that we will have the option to have a PDF. If we want to download a PDF of the actual document, we can. If not, it'll just automatically go into our ZipForm Plus. I don't want to refresh or reload the page because I don't want it to mess up, but I do apologize that it is taking a little bit to sync. I know that the problem is because I use my cell phone. So this is going to continue to do whatever it's doing to sync to zip form plus. The last thing that we were going to be able to do was just going to be able to actually either do the PDF, download the PDF, or open the transaction. We see some things. We can fill the form, generate those PDFs. It was completed. Is this the correct transaction? Let's try this one more time to connect to zip form so I can show you how those photos get added to the actual transaction. I appreciate you bearing with me with the Well, I do apologize, but I just wanted you guys to know that the last two things is that this will sync directly into your zip form plus transaction. All those photos that you took would be an additional page in the actual transaction as well. One whole page with PDFs with all of those photos. And that the SPQ and TDS will come back into once they are completed and signed, and all automatically gets synced to your zip form plus transaction. A couple of things I want to show you before I head on out of here. I want you guys tomorrow, Thursday, June 18th at 1 p.m. How to excel in real estate with social media. That's with Duncan Margoloff from Automatican. Make sure you come on and see how to excel in real estate with social media. Additionally, we have our virtual members preview this next Tuesday. If you do have a listing, make sure that that's on there for people to see. Guys, as always, I appreciate you, and make sure you have a greater DAOR day. If you need me for any particular reason or you need additional help or resources, you can always email me at outreach@daor.com. Once again, that's outreach@daor.com. Have a greater DAOR day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.